Hello and welcome. You are listening to On Show, the Louvre Abu Dhabi podcast that takes you on a tour. And for this first episode, we are taking you on a special tour in our permanent galleries to celebrate the UAE's Golden Jubilee with exceptional artworks from the 7 Emirates. I'm Eiman Al Hammadi, Mediation and Interpretation Officer at the Louvre Abu Dhabi. And together with my colleague Amna Al Zaabi, Senior Curatorial Assistant, we will discover fascinating tales of exchanges from the Emirates. Hello Amna.
Hello Eiman.
We are here in the permanent galleries of Louvre Abu Dhabi for a very special tour, and this is an initiative by the Louvre Abu Dhabi to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of the UAE. Tell us more about this initiative and how did you come up with this idea?
So as you said, this initiative is led by Louvre Abu Dhabi, but it wouldn't have been possible without the support and collaboration with several institutions in the UAE.
And the tour that we are following today, titled Tales of Exchanges from the Emirates, what kind of exchanges are we talking about here?
Yeah, so when we talk about exchanges come in different forms. We can talk about economic exchanges, cultural exchanges, and social exchanges. All these exchanges are very important because they tell us more about the pieces we'll be discovering today.
So we are here in the first chapter of the museum's narrative, titled The First Villages. Tell us more about this chapter.
The story here starts 10,000 years ago, where we talk about how the first communities started to settle small villages and they started to innovate. They started agriculture, elevate animals. They also started to create statues. They also created ceramics.
And we are here standing in front of the showcase to our left near the gallery's exit. We are in front of this exceptional vase, and it is the first artwork we are starting our tour with. Tell us more about this vase.
So in this showcase illustrating the birth of ceramic, we can see a remarkable vase right in the middle. And it's actually one of the earliest ceramic found in the UAE.
And I can see that there are two different patterns on it.
Yeah, the first pattern we see is actually on the body of the vase. And we see lines decorated with dots.
And the second patterns have like triangular shapes?
Yeah, we can see it around the neck of the vase. And you can see there are geometric decorations, and they tell us more about the history of this vase.
What kind of stories do they tell us?
We can start right at the beginning. This vase was discovered in 2004 on the island of Murawah, located in the western coast of Abu Dhabi. The geometric decorations we see on the body of the vase tell us that it was not produced locally, but imported from far away. It traveled long distance to reach the island of Murawah.
So where did it come from?
It was imported from Mesopotamia, the southern of Mesopotamia to be exact, where there was a culture named Ubaid culture, and they were known for producing such ceramics with distinctive geometric decorations.
And Mesopotamia, today we refer to it as...
Yeah, it's Iraq today.
So tell us more about Murawah Island. What kind of stories does this vase reveal to us about this island?
Archaeological excavations tell us more about the history of Murawah Island. Excavations yielded hundreds of artifacts such as arrowheads, pottery, and also there are settlements indicated that people lived on the island. And the fact that the vase was discovered there also indicate early evidence of trade with neighboring regions.
Thank you for all of this information. So we are moving now to the next gallery, which is the second chapter of the narrative, and it's titled The First Great Powers. And we are moving towards the third showcase to our left. Here we are in front of this showcase that has a variety of objects, and what really grabs my attention is this comb here. Let's have a closer look at it.
What we see here is an almost square comb, which is beautifully decorated with dotted circles. We can see it in the middle, and even in the upper part, you can see also two incised circles with dots. and the heads actually resembles a bird's head.
And I can see also that half of the comb was restored, apparently.
Yeah, so the discoloration you see is due to the restoration. So we actually have a fragment of the comb.
And this comb is actually made of ivory.
Yes, it is made of ivory, which is an interesting use of material for this comb, because ivory is not a material that you'd find here in the region. So it means it must have been imported from somewhere.
Do we know where it was imported from?
Yeah, the use of ivory indicate that it might have been from an elephant's tusk from Central Asia, perhaps northern India.
And in the UAE, it was found in Tel Al Abraq site in Emirate of Sharjah. Tell us more about this site.
Yes, so Tel Abraq site is one of the important sites in the UAE, and it's actually divided between the Emirate of Sharjah and Al Qawain. And both emirates collaborate and work together closely to protect this site and excavated, and it has also uncovered many amazing artifacts that tell us more about the communities that lived in the UAE around the 3rd millennium BCE. So we're talking around 2500 and 2000 BCE.
So a comb is an object that we use in our daily life, but it's really fascinating to know that it's an object that have been used thousands of years ago.
Combs are normally part of our everyday life, and it might have been the case for the people 1,000 years ago. But what's interesting is after the passing of these people, these items become objects of ritual, they become funerary goods because they are buried alongside the dead, where it was discovered in a mass tomb. So in addition to this beautiful comb, we can find other funerary goods that we can see here also in the showcase. For example, we can see bead necklaces from various materials such as chalkstone or carnelian stones.
And these other objects also come from different locations in the UAE.
Indeed, so we have objects from Sharjah, Ajman, Al Ain museums, and also Abu Dhabi. So actually all of these objects illustrate the trade this region had with the neighboring region, which flourished around 2500 and 1700 BCE. These communities that lived along the coast of the United Arab Emirates communicated and exchanges with regions such as Central Asia and Mesopotamia.
Shall we move to the next showcase to see the next object? So we are moving towards the first showcase to the right of the gallery's entrance. We are here in front of this showcase that displays mostly metallic weapons, and one of these weapons is this very beautiful dagger with the lion-shaped handle. Let's have a closer look at it.
So discovered in Saruq al-Hadid archaeological site located in the Emirate of Dubai, this dagger is remarkable with its curved blade. And what is also more fascinating is the handle shaped in the form of a lion, very dynamically represented. It seems that it's ready to pounce and attack you.
And I can see all the details of the lion. For example, we can see the hair and the tail. It is really detailed and done beautifully.
Indeed, you can almost imagine that it was not used in a war or to attack someone. Maybe it had a ceremonial function or maybe participated in a ritual, because with its curved blade, we can't assume that it was part of a daily use or for wars, for example.
And why lions specifically?
Lions are usually symbols of power.
This dagger was found in Saruq al-Hadid, and it's an important archaeological site. What kind of stories did we find in this site?
Saruq al-Hadid site is one of the most enigmatic sites in the Emirates because it's situated between the dunes, and excavating it is quite a challenge for archaeologists, because after a few seasons of excavations, it will be covered again by dunes. And what's more fascinating that they've uncovered many metallic weapons And there was also evidence of raw material, copper, that was used to produce such daggers.
So it means copper was a material that was locally available at the time.
Indeed. So the Omani Peninsula today, United Arab Emirates and the Sultanate of Oman were very rich with copper mines, and they were exported to other kingdoms in Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. We can also find other forms of weapons that were used in the region. So not only daggers, but we also have a beautiful set of 7 arrowheads found in the Qadfa archaeological site in Fujairah.
And copper is such a hard metal, and imagining that thousands of years ago, they didn't have all of these machines to make this kind of weapons. What does it tell us about the people who lived at the time?
It tells us that these communities mastered the art of weapon making. They also probably had some workshops that produced such arrowheads. And in this case, we can see that they are shaped in the form of leaves. And you can see that they are incised with unique marks or symbols. We can see X's and we can see other lines.
And what does these symbols tell us about those arrowheads?
Archaeologists are still studying these symbols. As of now, we are not sure what do they mean. They suggest that they probably have a symbolic meaning or also partook, in rituals, because it's very easy to deduce or assume that these weapons were made for battles, for fightings. But during that time, weapons were also made to symbolically represent the status of the warrior that fought in battles too.
It actually reminds me of men in the region today, where they also wear daggers sometimes, and it's not for a battle, but it's more for the status of the person.
Yes, indeed.
Let's move to the next gallery, where we can continue our tour. We are here in front of this showcase, and we are moving from heavy metallic weapons to very delicate objects made of glass. We can see dishes, bottles, and right in the middle of the showcase, we see this vessel, but it looks different than the other ones. Can you tell us more about it?
This small vessel is decorated with ribs in all of its sides. And what's really interesting about this object is that normally you think glass is transparent and clear. However, here we have this brownish layer covering the glass due to the oxidization process.
As you said, it's small. Do we know how it was used back then?
Yeah, so these kinds of vessels participated in banquets, probably for serving.
And this was found in a Dur site in Al Qawain. What kind of other objects were discovered in this site?
A Dur site was one of the powerful sites found in the UAE during the first centuries BCE and CE. It played an important role in trade and exchanges with the other regions. And many of the artifacts found in the site are objects of contact or of exchange. Glass was one of the material that was imported from outside, and it constitutes 8% of the finds in Ad-Dur site.
And it says here in the label that it was imported from the Roman Empire, which is really far away from the UAE. How did it reach Al Qawain?
The Roman Empire was one of the great empires that expanded and extended from the west to the east, and during that time glass was massively produced and traded for other items, for example, due to its importance. So such object would have reached the coasts of the UAE through trade. Some specialists say that it might have been produced in the Levant area, which some of the parts of the Levant was part of the Roman Empire. Then it was transported via caravans to the coasts of the UAE.
It is such a small object, but it carries a lot of stories and history about the UAE with it. Shall we move now to the last artwork in our tour today?
Yes.
We are walking toward chapter 5, where we jump in time, and this chapter focuses on trade and exchanges between continents. So we enter the gallery, we move past the Bodhisattva sculpture, and we turn around the long podium towards the second showcase. So here we are in front of the last artwork we are looking at today. What are we looking at?
We are now doing a jump in time, and we're looking at a Chinese dish dated between 15 and 1600, but it was actually discovered in the Emirates of Ras Al Khaimah. So this is created in semi-porcelain and richly decorated in blue and white painting.
Indeed, there are a lot of decoration in this plate. Let's have a closer look at it.
Yes, indeed. There are two types of decorations on this dish. The first one we can see is on the center of the dish. It's a very animated scene. We can see flowers and plants.
I can also see birds, and I can tell they are ducks from their feet.
Yes, so we can actually see 4 ducks. One of them is flying and seems to be diving in.
And there are different decorations around the rim of the dish.
Yeah, we can see several motifs, for example. We can see a ship, plants, mountains. We can also see a Chinese pavilion.
And I can also see that there are cracks on this plate. Was it restored recently?
Yes, so if we look closely to the center of the dish, we can see mending holes that runs from the top to the center.
Oh yes, I can see the holes at the either side of the crack in the middle. What do they mean?
What's interesting is that this dish was restored at 2 stages. The first stage was at an earlier time when the owner used the dish. So when it broke once in fragments, the owner decided to fix it with creating mending holes that are held together by a metal clasp. Then, after it broke once again, it was discarded until it was discovered in Ras Al Khaimah during the 70s, when it was once again restored.
Such a precious item that came all the way from China, but it was found in Jilfar and Ras Al Khaimah. What do we know more about this site?
So Jilfar was actually the old name of the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. And back then, Jilfar was a powerful trade spot. And it was actually mentioned in old documents and maps. And it really indicates that it was an important link between the East and the West.
China is a very far away place from the UAE. It means the people living in Jilfar at that time were wealthy.
I would say, yeah, some groups had access to this wealth and were able to obtain such item in their collections, maybe display at their homes or maybe for daily use. This kind of ceramic production was quite popular during that time. It was not only appreciated by the local communities, but was also appreciated by the Western audience, where there were strong trade links between China and the West, especially talking about Holland, because this kind of vessels are known as the crack vessels, and they actually refer to the 3-masted Portuguese ships that were used to trade with Asia.
This brings us to the end of our tour today, and it's really fascinating to see how the UAE, since thousands of years ago, had a network.
So yes, the lands of the Emirates witnessed continuous settlements and exchanges between other regions, and it is still the case today. And this is what we wanted to tell you today through the curation of these remarkable pieces loaned by the institutions in the UAE. And what's also more important is that how we integrate them into the universal narrative of the Louvre Abu Dhabi, where we try to create these cultural exchanges or dialogues between each objects and still maintaining their independent stories.
And we can see that the tales of exchanges continue today and will still continue to the future. It's really a great initiative of Louvre Abu Dhabi to organize such a tour with the other national museums.
Yes, and I hope that these exchanges will also extend in the near future, where we can also talk more about museum practices and learn more about these objects we have here today.
Thank you very much, Amna, for being here today with us. It was a pleasure to discover this tour with you.
Thank you, Eiman. The pleasure is mine.
In celebration of the UAE's Golden Jubilee, the loans from the 7 Emirates will be exhibited in the permanent galleries of Louvre Abu Dhabi until the beginning of November 2022. This podcast episode was produced by Louvre Abu Dhabi. Our warm thanks go to Amna Al Zaabi for her participation. Preparation by Botton, Amine Kharchach, and myself, Eiman Al Hammadi. Recording by Richard Hagen. Post-production, music, and mix by Making Waves. This podcast is also available in Arabic and French on the Louvre Abu Dhabi mobile app and our website louvreabudhabi.ae. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for our next episodes.